A young nation, barely out of its infancy, found itself locked in a bitter struggle for survival. The year was 1812. Across the Atlantic, Great Britain stood poised to crush the fledgling United States. The War of 1812, often overshadowed in history, would test the mettle of the young nation. It was a war fought on land and sea, a war of epic battles and unsung heroes. Imagine the smoke-filled skies above burning warships, the deafening roar of cannon fire. Picture the vast forests of North America, transformed into battlegrounds. Envision the courage of American sailors, outnumbered and outgunned, battling the mighty Royal Navy. These are the stories of the War of 1812, a war that tested human endurance and shaped a nation. In June of 1812, after years of failed diplomacy, the United States declared war on Great Britain. At the heart of the conflict lay a tangled web of grievances. The British, embroiled in their conflict with Napoleon's France, adopted aggressive naval policies impacting American trade. The Royal Navy forcibly seized American sailors, inflaming tensions. British support for Native American tribes resisting American expansion added fuel to the fire. The United States resented British economic policies that restricted American trade with Europe. The British Orders in Council sought to strangle French trade, impacting American shipping. By 1812, war was seen as the only viable option by many in the United States. The decision to declare war was not without its critics. The Federalist Party, largely centered in New England, argued that the United States was ill-prepared to take on the British Empire. The early months of the war exposed the stark realities facing the United States. The American Army, small and poorly equipped, struggled against the British Army. Early attempts to invade British Canada met with defeat. Despite setbacks, the United States found early success at sea. The fledgling U.S. Navy scored surprising victories in single-ship actions. The USS Constitution, commanded by Captain Isaac Hull, famously defeated the HMS Guerrière. The victory of the Constitution over the Guerrière sent shockwaves through both nations. For the United States, it was a much-needed morale boost. For the British, it was a humiliating defeat. The battle cemented the Constitution's place in American naval history. Despite early American successes at sea, the tide of the war began to turn in favor of Great Britain. With the defeat of Napoleon in 1814, Britain devoted more resources to the conflict in North America. The Royal Navy tightened its blockade, crippling American trade. British forces launched offensives in 1814, aiming to seize key American cities. In August, British forces landed in Maryland and marched on Washington, D.C. The American militia was routed, leaving the capital vulnerable. The British occupation of Washington was short, but devastating. The flames that engulfed Washington, D.C. in August of 1814 cast a long shadow over the young nation. The site of the Capitol building, the White House, and the Library of Congress consumed by fire shocked Americans. The attack on the nation's capital was seen as a violation and a stark reminder of the costs of war. The British, frustrated by their inability to deliver a decisive blow, opted to strike at the heart of American power. The burning of Washington had the opposite effect, fueling a wave of patriotism and defiance. Americans rallied to the defense of their nation. The destruction of American government buildings turned public opinion in Europe against Great Britain. Despite the destruction, the American government continued to function. President Madison, forced to flee Washington, established a temporary capital in Maryland. The burning of Washington ultimately served to strengthen American resolve. While the War of 1812 is often remembered for its land battles, it was at sea that the United States scored some of its most stunning victories. The young U.S. Navy, outmatched in size and firepower, proved to be a formidable opponent. One such victory occurred on September 10, 1813, on Lake Erie. Captain Oliver Hazard Perry, commanding a hastily built American squadron, faced off against a British force. Perry, whose flagship was battered, famously rode through enemy fire to transfer his flag to another ship. From there, Perry rallied his ships and launched a counterattack, overwhelming the British squadron. The Battle of Lake Erie was a turning point in the war in the Northwest Territory. Perry's victory secured American control of Lake Erie and forced the British to abandon their campaign against Detroit. Perry's dispatch to General Harrison, "We have met the enemy and they are ours," became legendary. As the war raged on, another pivotal moment unfolded in the defense of Baltimore, Maryland. In September 1814, British forces set their sights on Baltimore. The British planned a two-pronged attack, with land forces marching on the city while a fleet bombarded Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry endured a relentless bombardment by British warships for over 25 hours. Among those watching was Francis Scott Key, who had sailed to the British fleet to negotiate the release of a prisoner. Key, witnessing the bombardment, anxiously awaited the dawn, hoping to see the American flag still flying. As the smoke cleared, Key was overjoyed to see the large American flag still waving above Fort McHenry. Inspired, Key penned a poem titled "Defense of Fort McHenry," which later became the Star-Spangled Banner. Key's stirring lyrics resonated deeply with a nation at war. Even as peace negotiations were underway in Europe, the War of 1812 reached a dramatic climax in New Orleans. In December of 1814, a British force landed in Louisiana, intent on capturing New Orleans. Defending New Orleans was Andrew Jackson, a fiery militia commander. Jackson assembled a motley force to repel the British invasion. The Battle of New Orleans, fought on January 8, 1815, was a resounding victory for the United States. Jackson's forces inflicted a devastating defeat on the British. The American victory at New Orleans, while unnecessary as a peace treaty had been signed, electrified the nation. The battle cemented Jackson's status as a national hero. The American victory served as a fitting final chapter to the War of 1812. In December 1814, representatives from the United States and Great Britain met in Ghent, Belgium, to negotiate an end to the War of 1812. The Treaty of Ghent, signed on Christmas Eve 1814, restored pre-war boundaries. The treaty marked a significant turning point in Anglo-American relations. The War of 1812, despite its inconclusive ending, had profound consequences for the United States. The war strengthened American national identity and solidified American independence. The War of 1812 also marked the demise of the Federalist Party. The war accelerated westward expansion and fueled a spirit of national unity. The United States emerged as a more confident and assertive nation. The war produced a new generation of American military leaders who shaped the future of the United States. The War of 1812, though often overshadowed by other conflicts, continues to resonate in the national consciousness. The war's legacy can be seen in enduring symbols like the Star-Spangled Banner and the USS Constitution. The war also left an enduring mark on the relationship between the United States and Great Britain. The conflict laid the groundwork for a rapprochement that would see the two nations become close allies. The War of 1812 also had a profound impact on the development of Canada. The war fostered a sense of Canadian unity and identity. The war's legacy is evident in the many historical sites and memorials in the United States and Canada. The War of 1812, though often overlooked, left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche and landscape. Today, the war is commemorated in song and stone, its memory kept alive through historical sites and cultural artifacts. From the Star-Spangled Banner to monuments dedicated to the heroes of the conflict, the War of 1812 continues to resonate. The war's legacy is evident in museums and historical societies dedicated to preserving its history. The battlefields of the War of 1812, many preserved as national parks, offer a tangible connection to the past. Visitors can walk in the footsteps of soldiers, explore fortifications, and learn about the battles that shaped the nation. The war's legacy of courage, sacrifice, and determination continues to inspire Americans today.